Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Regina Paul Show. Today, I am joined by the beautiful Michelle Hallum. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, Michelle, you're a compass coach, right? So, what does that mean?
Basically, I work with mums that feel like they've lost direction in their life, and I help them find that direction and find the path that they want to be on. So that's where the kind of compass part of it comes into play.
Okay. So, how did you, what is your story? How did you get started on that?
I think it almost feels like everything in my life has led to this moment. But I guess kind of having kids was the kind of the biggest thing that happened to me. And after that, I just went through lots of changes and shifts, and it's taken like a few years until I've got to this point. But it's kind of that realization of I wanted something more from life than what I was doing. And that was kind of because I'd had kids, and suddenly my whole world had changed and I'd changed, and I just realized, if I've kind of gone through that, and I had a period of feeling so lost and so unsure of who I was and what I meant and whether or not, my life had purpose. Because as soon as you have a kid, you become a mum. So you kind of lose everything else that you were before, or you can. I mean, that's kind of how I felt. It's like it just changes everything. So on that journey of kind of self-discovery, I discovered coaching, and I discovered that I love it, and that I kind of have the skill set for it, and I have like I said, previous education that I've had, everything that I've kind of gone through in my life, one way or another, feels like it's kind of all come together now to bring me to this career choice. So, I'm just really excited to be on this journey and this path, but I still feel like very much my life is still unfolding, and my path and my story is still unfolding, and it's just that urge to be with other women in this journey, and kind of have them come along for the ride with me.
That sounds awesome. So, yeah, I totally see that when you say you kind of get lost when you become a mom, because you have these little beings that are relying on you to provide everything for them, to nurture them 24/7, nonstop. So all your desires, all your wants get put on the back burner. When they sleep, you either get sleep or you shower, right? So
Yeah.
how was that journey for you when you got your kids? Like, how was that?
I think with my first child, I very much went introspective. I remember saying to a couple of close friends, I just want to take my baby to an island, just me and my baby. I didn't want to be around anybody else. Seriously, I was like, because when you first have a kid, you get a lot of advice from a lot of people, and they're normally well-meaning. And looking back, they've normally got some very good advice to give, but it's your experience, it's your thing, and it's very hard to allow other people into that. At least it was for me, because it felt like I was the first person in the world to ever have a baby, and I didn't want anybody else's advice, and I didn't want anybody else's opinion, because it was my experience and my baby. So I kind of forced the world away. I kind of self-isolated when I had my first kid, and I was very happy to give up work, and I was very happy to dedicate my whole life to her. And I guess by the time I had my second, I'd kind of come out the other side of that, and I wanted to have a second child, but I didn't want to do it the same way as my first child, because I realized how much I'd not given up, but pushed away. And I was in the process of trying to kind of recuperate that and rediscover that and reconnect with that. So as much as I wanted another child, I didn't want to be isolated anymore. So having my second one was like completely different. And, I kind of carved out a little bit of space for myself. I already had that mental idea that I need to have that space for myself. And then probably because of that, the second one's been so much easier than the first one. She's like, so much more independent, and allows me to have that space. But it's because I demanded that, I asked that, I created that. So I can very much see how like I created both situations with both of my experiences with like very young babies. And now as they're older, the eldest one is still kind of I have to set a lot of boundaries with her, with what's her space and what's my space. Whereas, like I said, the younger one, kind of, we've already got that established. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just looking back in retrospect, I kind of realized how powerful that is as a first time mum, not realizing that you can say no to your kid, or not realizing that you can put boundaries in, to where you end and your child begins, rather than just merging into one. So that's kind of how having kids has shaped me as a woman, really.
Okay. So is that what you help your clients with, like creating that healthy boundary for themselves and their child?
Initially, it's about discovery because I think, like I said, when I first had my child, my first daughter, I wasn't interested in anybody's advice, or I wasn't seeking advice. I didn't even realize I needed help, so to speak. So firstly, I think it's more about discovery. Like the women that come to me are they're feeling discontent, they're feeling um, that overwhelmed a lot of the time, like they don't have enough time for everything, enough time for themselves for sure. And it's about kind of establishing that sense of discovery, like, well, what is causing this? What is the problem? And then from there we can kind of work on the solutions to that. But it's very much kind of client by client based, because I think each person has individual experiences anyway, but each mother
Mm-hmm.
has an individual experience with from the birth, well, from the pregnancy even, or even to getting pregnant. I mean, the story from getting pregnant to being pregnant to having the baby to having those first few months or years with your child is different for every person. So for me, it's kind of working with women first to kind of make that connection with themselves, that self-discovery. And then once they've discovered what it is that they need or want to change, then helping them to make those changes, supporting them, and just being there, giving them the space to find a way to do that.
Okay. Okay, that's beautiful. So do you think when you kind of were pulling away from the world, do you think that was like there's no like a lot of women suffer uh postpartum.
Postnatal depression.
So do you think that was a little bit part of that, or do you think that was just a decision that you made to like, you know what, like I actually don't want to do it. This is my baby, like mama bear, you know. I just want to absorb it, like you know.
I was
What do you think
like,
that
yeah.
was? Yeah.
Yeah, looking back, I'm sure I was depressed, but I'd had a history before having children of depression and anxiety.
Hmm.
And I I definitely, when I had those moments, wouldn't necessarily notice that I was in that moment until I was out of that moment. You get so consumed with thinking that it's normal to feel this way, that it's not until you don't feel that way that you look back and you go, oh, I was depressed, or that was anxiety that was like controlling me and ruling me. So when I had my daughter, I definitely went through a lot of emotions. And looking back, I would definitely say that I don't, I guess you would categorize it as postnatal depression, because yeah, it was after the birth. But it almost felt to me something more than that. I think when we have kids, it's something about our own childhood and our own kind of issues from when we were young all get brought forward too. And I
Mm,
think, many people have said this. It's like, you start working through your own issues from childhood when you have a kid, because suddenly you're confronted with this, like you said, this little being that normally reflects something that you haven't healed in yourself from your past.
yeah.
So it can bring up all sorts of things for you. And I live in a different country to my family, my maternal family. So I had that kind of added isolation from having like my mom and my sister close by. And I had my partner's family, but again, I felt culturally very different to them. So it it was isolating on lots of different levels. I don't know if the me kind of retreating to a cave was more about, looking back on it, kind of hiding from everyone, because I was just really, really vulnerable, and I knew I was very, very fragile, and I just wanted to protect me and protect my baby. And like you say, the whole mother bear thing of like, right, I'm going to take her and we're just going to go, it's like because you lot are just like doing my head in, and I just can't cope with all of this. So, had I been in the UK, had I have had my family around me, I may well have felt very differently to what I did. But at the same time, I'm very thankful for kind of what I went through, because it's taught me so much about myself.
Yeah, kids definitely do.
Yeah.
They definitely absorb everything around us, so it is so important for us to heal ourselves so we can be better for them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you said so your family is in the UK, right? Can you just tell like our viewers where you're located then?
So I live in Barcelona, which I'm sure a few people will be very jealous of, which is insane because I'm trying to get out of Barcelona. I'm like that. I'm so sick of. I'm so sick of the city. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to stay. Because again, with kids, it's like we're very, very lucky because we live near Park Güell, which, if anyone knows Barcelona or knows anything about Catalan culture, then there was a very famous artist called Gaudí, and he what did he do? He created a park, and it's very beautiful, and it's like got loads of mosaic sculptures, and it's up just like outside. It's not outside of the city, but it's kind of like on the edge. So you've got a bit of the mountain going on, and we're lucky enough to live close enough to there, so we can take our kids to school there, which is amazing because it's like a public school, but it's inside the grounds of this park, so it's just like gorgeous.
Wow.
But to get there, we have to walk along like this crazy main road. So it's like this contrast between, you kind of take them to school. My partner actually does that part, so I get to escape that in the mornings. But then coming back from school, it's like you're in this beautiful park. You've got birds singing. You've got like the greenery. You've got this beautiful architecture all around you. It's peaceful. Now, because of COVID, there's no tourists in the park. So it's like super chilled out and lovely. And just literally, as you start descending down the hill from the park, just bit by bit, there starts being more people. There starts being a bit more traffic until you get to like the bottom. And then you have to walk along what is essentially like a dual carriageway. You've got like probably about 6 lanes of traffic, and it's just like and my youngest daughter's 4, and she's pretty how should we say it, she's a flight risk. She just runs off, and there's just always this fear that she's going to like run into the road, and she's pretty street smart because she's grown up like this, but it's still, I've got my heart in my chest every time she's sort of like running towards the road, and you're trying to have conversations with them about school, but you're literally like shouting at each other. How was your day at school today? Was it good? Yeah. It's just like, just insane. The level of noise just creates this stress. And I've realized that I talk quite loud. And what I think that comes from now is because when you're out on the street, you literally have to elevate your voice a little bit to be heard by the person you're talking to. And add into that we wear masks now as well. So like you're shouting a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
And I think, for the nervous system, I think it's this stimulation that you're giving yourself. You're scaring your body because you're shouting. So your body's like, what's going on? Am I in panic mode? Like it's getting ready to just like run if it has to.
Risk, yeah.
Exactly. It's like fight or flight kind of kicks in. So it's this for me. I find it very stressful in the city, and I actually think it does affect me. And like I said, I'm prone to depression and anxiety anyway. And it's that kind of awareness now of like, wow, being in this environment is not good for me. It's not a healthy place for me to be.
Okay, so are you planning to stay then in Spain?
I would. we live in a zone which is called Catalonia, which is the kind of, anyone who knows anything about British politics, it's like the Scottish English divide thing going on, where you've got quite a few Scottish people that want to be independent, and Catalonia wants to be independent from Spain. So I mean, it's got its own language, it's got its own culture, and I would definitely like to stay within Catalonia. And also we've got my partner's family, so we wouldn't want to move too far away from them. So we've got it in mind to go somewhere, but it's just, we don't know when, we don't know where. And we're very, very happy with my daughter's school. Like I said, it's a great school, it's in a great place. Just the rest of us aren't, it's like we all just need to move to her school and like live in the playground or something, and we'd be happy. But it's not possible.
Well, beautiful. Yeah.
Just a tent in the playground, we'll be fine.
You won't have to shop anymore, Michelle.
Exactly. I could be like, morning, time for school. There you go. We could get up later and everything. It would be amazing. So yeah.
Oh, can you tell me a time where you didn't know what you were doing?
If I'm honest, I kind of feel like that a lot, I mean, I just, I think most of my life I didn't really care about what I was doing. So I just kind of got on with it. And now I'm in a time in my life where I kind of feel like this is my time to make a difference. So I think I've kind of got this added pressure that I've put onto myself, that I want to achieve something now. And like I said, what I want to achieve is being able to, create some kind of tribe of women that can support each other, that can make each other, give each other the support that they need as mothers. I think women are really powerful. I think that was taken away from us at some point in history. But I think, if you look back in history, then women were always like revered until some point, and I'm not sure exactly when. I've got some ideas, but it's not the time or the place to talk about it now. But I mean, there was a point where women were revered and then they weren't, and we were kind of like made into the underdogs and made into the enemy. Yeah. And I think that, I think for the world to change in a positive way, women need to be brought back to that place of reverence, because I think we really are I think humans are important altogether, of course, but because we've kind of been pushed down, it's like we need to be brought back up so that the balance can be restored between men and women, and therefore the world, So I don't feel like I know what I'm doing to get to that, It's like, how do you get to that? Yeah. And it's so important to me, and it's so powerful. I think that I can get very kind of frustrated with not knowing how to get there, and I have to bring myself very much back to the moment, to the present moment, and be like, what am I doing right now, and then I'm okay. But if I start thinking too far into the future, then that's when I kind of can get like, what am I doing, what's going on? But I think that's quite a typical thing of overwhelm. I think we all do that. I think it's I never pronounce his name properly. The guy who wrote The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. Yeah. So he says, if you're in the past, then that's already happened and it's gone. So what's the point in being there? And you've normally got guilt and depression attached to those kinds of thoughts. If you're in the future, then that's not even happened yet, and you've normally got anxiety and fear and worry attached to those thoughts. Yeah. And it's only right here in the present moment that we can actually be. And most of the time, if you do just think, am I okay right here, right now, then you are. It's only when you start allowing your brain to go either there or there that you start freaking out. So every time that I think, I don't know what I'm doing, it's like, it's okay, that's fine. I know what I'm doing right now in this moment, and that's enough. And it's just that reminder.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you brought that up. I really love his his books and his perspectives, how he just kind of puts it, he just simplifies it for us, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just to touch back on what you were saying, where women were kind of pushed down, I totally agree with that. I think we were kind of pushed down because um, people are usually afraid of things that they don't understand and that they find more powerful than them, right? So I feel like the power of the women has been seen, and I was like, whoa, wait, this is too much. We can't allow this, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, get back into place, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I totally agree with that, because like I still, on a daily basis, I still meet people where, especially men, where I'm kind of like treated like I don't deserve to be where I am, you know, and I don't put up with that. Like I don't even, like, you're gonna treat me like that because I am a woman. Like that's just unacceptable for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think if we all just come together and say that continuously, right? We are moms, we're nurturers, but we are also much more than that. Much more. Yeah. So I think your work is so powerful, Michelle. That is so needed out there.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things that you've made me think of there. The first one, this idea that I never knew that women used to be revered, you know, and it wasn't until I was pregnant that I was looking into hypnobirthing. And I don't know if you've ever heard of hypnobirthing.
No, I
but
haven't.
It's a kind of hypnotherapy that it's kind of a pain management basically for during labor. Okay. And it's like a preparation for labor that focuses on breathing and visualization, and the kind of preparation beforehand is kind of coaching to a certain extent of kind of getting you in the right mindset of like you are capable of this thing, that you were made for this thing, that this is what your body was born to do, you know. And it's so empowering. And I remember reading this book that accompanies it, and it spoke about this. It spoke about back in the Greek times. I think in Greek mythology, women were revered, and you know, especially pregnant women, because it was just like, oh my God, this amazing being that can create life. I mean, like, how incredibly insane is that? And then it talks about the rise of the traditional church, which was scared by this, as you said. It was it came from a place of fear. And so then suddenly we started having women being criticized for being pregnant almost. So can you hear the feedback?
No, I can't.
Okay. I thought you were looking there. Oh, it's gone now. No, so that then all of these kinds of ideas of sort of like women being pregnant outside of wedlock, or you know, women having more than one lover, or in any way the woman being seen as a kind of sexual being was just wrong and bad. And again, this was a way to kind of what's the word I'm looking for, to demean women and to put them down and to like lower them in social status. And this kind of basically all came about, like you said, from a place of fear.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, when you truly think about it, it's like, how incredible is it? Like, everyone is in awe of life, whether they realize it or not, in my opinion. And the fact that women, or the female species, the female of any species, apart from a few, which I'm not sure, but I know there are some men that spiders or something that can have babies, but you know, it's normally the woman that can have the babies. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's like, you know, we're the ones that should be looked at as like, wow, you're the ones that can continue this race, and you're the ones that, you know, I know that it's necessary for men. I'm not trying to say that it's not, and I'm not a man hater, and it's not that I don't think men are important. It's the equality thing that's important. And I think that's the problem. It's like women are not equal to men at the moment. I'm not asking for them to be above men. I just think they need to be equal, so that, like I said, we can restore this balance, because it's just insane to put men above women and the masculine energy that comes with that. And I think we can witness that in the world today when we see the kind of crisis that we're in globally with climate change, with everything that's going on, I think that's representative of the masculine power that has been let to rule for too long, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. That we have to restore the equality. I think for that to happen too, though, we also have to look at the different policies that we have in place and have to change that. One of the things that my husband and I would talk about sometimes is that why can a woman go on maternity leave but the husband doesn't get the equal opportunity? So if the woman that gave birth to the child actually wants to go back to work and doesn't want to be on maternity, the husband can stay at home and do that. But that is not equal as well,
Yeah.
So it's like, well, how is that fair to the men? And I'm like, well, I totally see your point. But that's why it's so important that we bring it back. We make it equal. We make it fair for both sexes.
Do you know, here in Europe, there are different rules for different countries. And just recently here in Spain, they have made it so that the man and the woman both get 4 months maternity leave. So they I know it's like incredible, because when I had my children, my partner was allowed 13 days. And then I think with both my kids, and then just after my second daughter was born, they changed it so that the man got, I think, a month. And then not long after that, like literally like 3 or 4 months later, they changed it so that the man and the woman both got 16 weeks. So it's about 4 months. But I know in countries like, I think it's Finland, I think I'm right in saying, they get, both the parents can get up to 2 years, and they can actually alternate them. So like the father, for example, or the mother could take 6 months, and then like the father could take 6 months. So all in all, they could actually like end up having the first almost 4 years of the child's life with one of the parents there supporting, being in that family environment and receiving their same wage for it. And it's just, again, this idea of, I know the economy is important, and when we think about what's happening with COVID at the moment, then we can also see how actually human connection is just as important to a certain extent, because we've got the economy that everyone's always got their eyes on and they're always so worried about. But actually, people's human connection is just as important, and people need that connection with other people. And much more than when you have a baby. It's like that baby needs to be with its parents. And don't get me wrong, I know there are some parents out there that really want to go back to work, and they're quite happy to go back to work. And I support women that want to do that too, because again, it's establishing your own healthy boundaries. And if your healthy boundaries are, I need to return to work for me so that I can be 100% for my baby when I get home, then that's what works for you. But I think that's the point. It's like everyone needs to be able to have their choices met to make a more balanced world, a world where children and families are respected. Because I think, I in my grandparents' time, at least, I was talking to my partner about this morning, my grandfather earned enough money so that my grandmother didn't have to work, and her role was to be at home with the children. And then, you had the rise of women's liberation, and they said, well, women should be able to work too. And so then women were like allowed to work, but what actually happened is they were meant to like go to work and still be a mum. So all that actually happened is their workload doubled. A man kind of continued in the same way that he'd always continued, but the woman now got the right to go to work. But, if she wanted to like have a career and have a baby, then she has to choose. So it's like, I think we are moving in the right direction. Yeah, exactly. And I think it is moving in the right direction, but I think there just needs to be more awareness brought to it, and more support and compassion given to families that want to, that are there basically, so their choices can be supported.
Yeah. And the early years of our kids are so important, right? Because we shape them from when they're born to when they're 7. That's everything in that time frame right there. Like, all our core values and our beliefs and everything. Like, this is where they learn it at home, right? So you kind of shape them, get them ready to go out to school in kindergarten, preschool, and hope they're going to be okay. Right?
Yeah.
So nice when they go, but at the same time, we're slightly freaking out inside, like, oh my God.
I know.
It's really let them go now.
It is insane. I mean, here as well, it's kind of normal that kids go to school when they're 3. And again, this is kind of, this comes from like an economical standpoint, I would say, because mums and dads now get 4 months maternity leave. But, from those 4 months until the child is 3, then they have to find some other form of childcare if they go back to work. So, if you have to go back to work, because financially most families have to have 2 people earning to kind of maintain just the basics in their life.
Yeah.
So then they're forced to kind of look for childcare, and here it's subsidized quite a lot. There's a lot of public nurseries and stuff like that. But what actually happened to me with my first daughter, I was just freaked out at the idea of sending her to school at like 3. I'm just like, it's barbaric. It's insane. Like, why would you send this tiny little thing? Like, honestly, I was just so shocked by the whole thing. I just thought everyone like hated children. And then if you didn't try to get a place for your child in a public school when they were 3, then basically statistically it was going to be much, much harder as they got older, because everyone puts their kid into school when they're 3. So, to find a space in a class as the groups go up, you've either got to wait that a kid leaves the school for some reason, or maybe they've got like spaces in that group because it didn't get filled up, which is really, really unlikely here in Barcelona, because there's normally a waiting list for classes, and the whole process is insane. It's insane. It's like, just to get your kid into school, in the school you want, in the area you want, can be very traumatic. And I mean, I think the last 2-3 years, there's been like kids without places in schools and stuff because they just haven't had enough places available, which is obviously poor planning. But it's that way that you're forced to put your kid into school at 3 if you want them to have a place.
Yeah.
Now I actually see the value in it. I mean, by the time my second kid came along, like I said, I kind of like chilled out a little bit. I didn't feel like everyone was trying to steal my child from me. And it was just like, but again, I think I identified with being a mother so much that I was so scared of losing her, because then I didn't know who it meant that I was. I think that's really what it was about, as much as anything else, was I got so absorbed with being a mother that I lost my identity as anything else. Then obviously, not having my child with me, it was like, well, who am I?
Yeah.
What's left? Because I've just given up my body for the last 9 months. I've now been like breastfeeding and giving up my body in a different way for the last however long. And now you want me to send her off to school, and who do I become? So I think a lot of women probably have this on some level, this sense of before and after, and it's rediscovering who you are after you've had your children. And I think that takes time.
Oh yes, it does. It definitely does. I remember, like, because I'm divorced and remarried now, so when I was going through my divorce, I always had my son with me, right? So when then the first weekend he was going off to his dad's, it crushed me. Not know what to do with myself, So I get home, closed the door, and I was like a puddle of tears. It's like, oh my God. Like, who am I? What do I do now? I don't have anyone to look after,
Yeah.
And so that's that self-discovery, like, of what you like to do, what do you do for fun now? What is fun? Do I go and have a bubble bath? Do I go meet up with friends? But they have kids to look after, And it's like, I don't know. Like, there's so many possibilities, but like, where do I go next?
Yeah.
Right? Where do I go to that direction? So I think that's important. Like, it definitely hits women in different stages. Like, if you're either going through a divorce, right, or if you're sending them to school, at some point you do go through that where like, oh, there's no one here to take care of, so okay, what do I do now?
Mm-hmm. Or I think even when your kids go to school, like if you're a mum and your kids are a little bit older, I'm working with a mum at the moment. She's got 4 kids ranging from the ages of 19 right down to 4. So they're literally like, they're in every stage you can imagine of development. And when they're at school, she basically fills her day with doing tasks for everybody else. So it's like getting the house organized, doing the shopping. She has no time for herself, but she has no kids in her house during the school hours. And again, that I think we can get so caught up in prioritizing our kids, because I think we've always got tons of things to do. That never changes.
Yeah.
What changes is how you prioritize what's going to get done first. Yeah. So if you're constantly putting you at the bottom and everything else for everyone else at the top, then, of course, you're never going to have time for yourself. So that's what we're kind of working on at the moment, is looking at the things she's got going on in her life and reevaluating, like, really, are these things that important? Do they really need to be done? Or are they a distraction? Are they like a tool to stop you looking after yourself? And then if it's to stop you looking after yourself, then why don't you want to look after yourself? What's blocking you? What limiting belief do you have? Or what what self-belief do you have that's blocking you from doing that? So like I said, I think once women are fantastic organizers, mums are fantastic organizers and prioritizers and all the rest of it. So I don't actually really need to give women those tools because we have them already. But it's just about making those kinds of shifts in our thinking to be focused on us as much as, if not more than, our kids. And I know for some people, they might get that kind of like that tightness in their stomach of thinking, put myself before my children. But, oh my God, like the mother bear in me would have just been in, I probably would have scratched my own eyes out if I'd had that thought when I had my little tour, Yeah. But it's like, you can actually put yourself above others. You can actually, prioritize yourself above your kids. That's actually okay to do. And if you don't feel like that's okay to do, why not? That's the question you need to be asking yourself. Why not? And then digging and digging and digging, because that's going to it's going to reveal something that's kind of blocking you or holding you back. And most of the time, this will be linked probably to your mum. Unfortunately, it's like, it's this regression into your childhood and what kind of role model you had. And this isn't to start criticizing other people's mums, because we all do the best we can with what we've got in the time that we have. But I can definitely recognize in my mum that she was like, she sacrificed everything for us. And I don't want to do that for my kids, because I think I want to show them a role model of somebody who takes time for themselves as well, because that's important. And when they have children, I want to make sure that's what they're doing. I want to make sure that they've kind of said, well, it's okay for me to have my own hobbies and my own friends and my own activities and my own time, because my mum did it. And then it's going to be easier to break that chain, And I think they say about our generation that we're like we're the therapy kids. We're the ones that are like breaking the chains of like past generations.
Yeah.
And I think it's true. And I think, we need to pass on these healthy habits to our kids. So in a roundabout way, by looking after yourself, you are actually looking after your kids, but just the kind of projected future for them, especially if you've got girls.
Yeah, for sure. And you're also creating a stronger bond, because they are actually seeing you as your own person, not just as this caregiver,
Yeah.
If I want something to eat, mom's going to cook it for me, right? No, they see you as like, look at what I'm doing too. These are my interests. These are my hobbies. I love doing that. And it really creates a stronger bond, what I find. Because like with my mom, she's like she was a stay-at-home mom too, but she also worked from home because she's a piano teacher, right? And so she does everything for everyone. doesn't ask anything of anyone, And it is, she fills her time every single day with tasks, and she never does anything for herself. So when I go to visit her, because she still does that, right? So I'll go, okay, Mom, how about I take over the kitchen today? Is that okay? Is that okay if I take over the kitchen? Why don't you go do something for yourself? Well, her favorite thing to do is to go and sewing a dress or something, That's like such old style, old way of living, And so she really enjoys that, right? But like, she puts so much pressure on herself, right? And I saw that when I was growing up, and I just knew I didn't want that for myself. I didn't want that because I don't really know what else my mom likes to do, Like, what else that would she have loved to be doing, right?
And
so
I think I was going to say, I think that's key. It's like, it's not that women from previous generations can't fill their time, or even women now. It's like they can fill their time, but it's not doing things that are giving them something back. And it's that thing of believing again, like they don't deserve to be given back to them, or that's not for them. I have another client, in fact, who she was a stay-at-home mum, and now her 2 kids are both at school. And so her partner was the main breadwinner of the family. And she's recently started working part-time. She does 5 hours a day. And so now she's contributing financially to the family as well as doing everything she was doing before. And because she's going through this process with me of self-discovery and self-awareness and starting to value herself, her and her partner are having to reevaluate the distribution of labor in the house. And it's a very difficult time for their family, because she's going through this process, but for him, nothing's changed. And, he's kind of like even saying to her, well, you only work 5 hours a day. And it's like, oh my God, she works in a shop. So she's attending people constantly. His kind of job is more, he's working from home for a start. So, he hasn't got that pressure on him of having somebody like in his face asking him a question to do something. So again, you can even not have the support within your own family when you're trying to make these changes. And that's really, really hard. And that's something that's what keeps you trapped in patterns, because if you've got somebody telling you, it's not just your own, what we've discovered with her is her limiting beliefs are not actually even her own. It's what she's been told all her life, either via her family or via her partner, that have kind of they were her thoughts, they were her beliefs. But as we've started peeling away all of this, she's discovered that that's actually not who she is, and that's not what she believes. So, I think like coaching should come with a health warning of like, this might change your life, because it's like
warning, change.
But I mean, change. I think people say, I want to change, but it's like, I think with change, sometimes change doesn't feel good immediately. It's hard, especially when you get some real truths kind of put in your face, and to make those changes, you're going to have to go through some hard times. So, I mean, it's not all about empowerment and, feeling great and all the rest of it. I think there's kind of a darker side to change, but you have to be able to go through it to get to the light, otherwise you just stay in the dark, and then that's no fun.
Yeah, as long as you stay true to yourself, and that is really, really hard. We can all talk about, just stay true to yourself, but it is so much harder when you're right there in the situation and you're going through it by yourself, and you don't have the support of your family. It is very, very hard, because I didn't have the support of my family when I left my ex-husband. Like, there was no support whatsoever, and I just had to remove myself from that situation. It wasn't right for me. I knew what I wanted, and I was denied the change that I was seeking. So I had to take it to a different step, right? So those are the things that we really need to like evaluate, I guess, and see like how is the pain of staying the same greater than the pain of change, because that's the only time when you're going to actually make that change.
Yeah, no, and I love that. I heard that not so long ago, that people will only change, like you say, when the pain of staying the same becomes stronger than the pain of change. So I think a lot of things that people say in general, like day to day, we kind of say and we go, yeah, we accept that. Like, you know, change is hard. And like you say, you've got to stay true to yourself and all of this. And it's very easy to say all of these things.
Yeah.
But then when you're actually in the moment and you're like, oh my God, I actually really do need to change, or something like that. That's when, you know, having a coach to kind of help you through those times is really, it's got the most value, because to have somebody who's independent from your personal life and who doesn't know you means that somebody comes into your life with fresh eyes, and they're not there to judge you or to even give you advice, so to speak. At least I try not to. I like for my clients to kind of discover things themselves. It's not my job. It's not my job to kind of say, right, here's an evaluation of your life. This is what we need to change. This is how we're going to change it. It's like, that's not really how I work. It's more about, you know, you need to change. You know what you need to do to change, but maybe you just need the space to kind of talk it through so that you can discover exactly what that is and what it looks like for you. So, you know, I think that's essentially coaching for me. It's not a one size fits all. It has to be very much client led, because we all do actually know what we need to do. I believe that.
Oh yeah.
Just sometimes we just need to kind of verbalize it, and then we're like, oh damn, I've got to do that, haven't I?
Now I actually have to go and do it.
Like,
oh, darn, I thought there was a different way.
No. And that's it, having someone to kind of hold your hand through that process and kind of, you know, just be there, and to have that connection with somebody. I think it's what makes a difference between you kind of moving forward towards the change you want, or maybe getting stuck in either not moving at all or getting stuck kind of midway through the process and not making it all the way. So
yeah, I think that happens to a lot of people. We just get we like freeze from the fear from the fear of the unknown, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. But we're strong. We're women. We can do anything. That's the thing. It's like, it just keeps coming back to that, because you think about all of the things that women go through, and in fact, I think, you know, the reason I like working with mums so much, other than, you know, my personal story that's kind of brought me to this point, is because mums are so resilient. Because you might think you're a certain way, but then if something's going on with your kid, you won't believe the kind of reaction you could have about something, or the things you'd be willing to do, or the, you know, these fears or anxieties that maybe you used to have, but you're just like, well, I'm just going to have to deal with that because I need to do this for my kid. You know, it's like the strength that having a child can give you, or can empower you in so many ways that you didn't think were possible before, because you just, this thing is like so important to you. And it's more important than your fear or your anxiety or your limiting belief, for example. So I think a lot of women that do get out of relationships that are maybe not healthy for them, it can sometimes be kind of triggered by something to do with the kids. Like, either they think, I don't want my kids to be brought up in an environment like this, or I don't want my kids to see me being treated like this, or, you know, the kind of inspiration or that final push for a lot of women, I think, comes from the kids. So if they've been in that relationship without kids, maybe it would just continue because we're so resilient. We can tolerate so much crap that we can just keep taking and taking and taking. But the minute something is affecting our kids, we're like, whoa, I'm out of here. You know, like that. I'm not doing this. You know? So, I mean, that's powerful in itself. Just, I think women just are constantly in flux. We're constantly evolving and changing. And, I think, again, this is something that men fear. They fear the fact that women are so intuitive and like I said, they're constantly growing and changing. And I'm not saying that men don't as well, because I know they do. But I mean, women, just from kind of like our menstruation to having babies to the menopause, I mean, we've got these really big biological things that happen to us that mean we're constantly adapting and being flexible. And I think, that's physically and mentally. Then, we're just born like this. We're born to be flexible and adaptable. And then that means that we can orchestrate great change because we can think in different ways. We can see things in different ways. And I think we recognize the power in like unity and the power in tribe, basically.
Yes.
Yes,
I agree.
Sorry, because when I start getting passionate about it, it's like, it's
so nice to see, though. It's I can definitely see the passion behind your work. That you really just want to help women. Well, you've lived through it. You know what it was like for you, and so you want to help women, rediscover themselves and have that healthy boundaries with them and their kids, and knowing what they really want in life. Do they want more than just being a mom? Because that's what a lot of times society expects from us, right? It's like, well, you're just a mom, so just go be a mom. So,
but even that, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but even that, it's like this idea of like to just be a mom. It's like I think there was a brilliant video that I saw a couple of years back where it was a bit of a parody about, I'm trying to remember it now, it's just coming back to me. It was like a job advertisement, and they'd basically broken down the job of a mum into a job advertisement, or into, I think they were interviewing people for this job, and they were like, I'm trying to remember how it went now, but I think they were interviewing men for the job of a mum, but it was done in a very, they'd actually responded to an advert in the paper. It wasn't saying it was for a mum, it was saying it was for like, I don't know, business executive or whatever. And then as they're having this interview, they're like, yeah, we expect you to work like 7 days a week and to be on call 24 hours a day. And they're like, all right. And it was just like unrolling all of the kind of tasks basically that a mum goes through in the form of this job interview. And like these men were just sort of like, as they're kind of telling them what they expect from them from this job, they're just like, looking more and more shocked. And then they're like, oh, by the way, this is like an internship, so we won't be paying you, and these like men getting like completely angry and like just getting up out of the interview and everything. But it was to sort of like raise awareness of like, how dare anyone ever say you're just a stay-at-home mum? Because it's just like, Jesus, the amount of things that a stay-at-home mum does. And then, like I said, you've then got this added thing of like, if you want to have a career, then you have to combine these two careers. So it's like being like the CEO of your family and your life, mixed with whatever career it is that you want to have. So you're essentially doing two careers, And like you said about with the conversation you had with your husband, I think men are missing out on that opportunity to be more involved in the home as well. They may not think they want to be involved because maybe it scares them a little bit too, because women are so good at it. We make it look so easy that the thought of them doing it is just sort of like, oh my God, how could I even do that? And I think that's the job of like mums now that are having boys. That's their job, is to be teaching their boys that they too are part of a family. You know what I mean? Like they're too responsible for the maternal caregiving of children, that they are there to be doing 50-50. It's a co-responsibility relationship in a family. It's not like these are mum tasks, these are dad tasks, because they're missing out on so much. And I think like I said, it is changing, but as mums, we've got a responsibility to kind of teach our boys and girls the best way forward, so that can be a dream. That dream can be realized in the future, and hopefully we have equal balanced families sort of like 20-30 years from now. or sooner would be great, but who knows?
Well, you know what, Michelle, it has been a pleasure speaking with you today. I'm going to ask you a question that I ask everyone. So what would you do in a zombie apocalypse?
In a zombie apocalypse, do you know, I've often thought about this. During COVID, I was walking my dog when everything was shut down, and that was a bit like a zombie apocalypse. You know, I kept imagining like zombies just kind of like running across the street or something because there was no one else. What would I do in a zombie I can't even say the word now. I would try to survive. I mean, you know, I think I would probably break into a supermarket, get all of the things I had to get. I'd be very practical. I'd stock up as much. I'd steal a van. I'd steal a van from somewhere, fill it with food and water and things like that, and get my family the hell out of here and get them to somewhere where there was nobody, if that was possible, and go and live in the forest or the mountains for the rest of my life.
A mountain there by the school.
Exactly. Well, we would just move into the school. That's what needs to happen. A zombie apocalypse. We'd move into the school. Everything would be sorted.
Awesome. Do you have anything that you would like to give as a gift to the viewers today? It's up to you.
Yeah, so you know, I'm offering a week's worth of coaching for free. I've got 3 spots that are available. So basically, the first 3 women or the first 3 mums that could contact me, do you know, giving me their answer of what would they do in a zombie apocalypse. That could be a good one. the first 3 mums to kind of contact me, telling me what they do in a zombie apocalypse. No, but I'm offering 3, like I said, 3 spaces on a week's worth of intense coaching. So get in contact and we can discuss what it is you need and how I can help you with that.
Awesome, you guys. So don't wait too long. I'm sure this is going to go very, very fast. Only 3 spots available to work with Michelle. And thank you so much for being here today, Michelle. It was so much fun catching up with you and talking to you again. I hope you have a great rest of the Sunday. And if you don't mind, would you be able to just go ahead and post your link down below, how people can get in contact with you after the broadcast has been posted? And that's it for today, you guys. Thank you so much for everyone who has been watching. Have a fabulous rest of the Sunday.
Thank you. Have a good day. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.